T in transit. It is Sunday, October 1st, first day of October at 8:34 a.m. And we are in Gate 18.5, Therapy. The strength to recognize a problem and to accept that it is beyond one's power to solve it alone. The exaltation, or that, would be the wisdom to both seek and provide guidance, the potential for correction, and the judgment through relationships. The detriment is the mental patient, chronic instability and potential madness, where relationships cannot assist in correction of the potential mental instability. So we're really talking about relationships and their ability to assist with correction, or at least open up the potential for correction, or the inability of a relationship to assist in potential correction, thus leading to like mental instability. Which is funny because my 62 in Mars locks this in a detriment for me, which is fun, I think. Anyway, what we have really is, the fifth line solution, universalization of a correction, right? And so tomorrow we're going into Buddhahood, which is a perfected form through correction, or potential to share the values of correction with others, or embodying the actual corrected form. And so, what we're doing is we're kind of like, again, we're maturing through the lines, starting with the initial investigation all the way up to the role model. And today is about therapy. So again, in this, we have the potential for the correction and the judgment through relationships, or we have that, which is relationships cannot assist in correction and the potential for mental instability. So again, we're going to notice some mental instability. We're going to notice judgments within our relationships extra today. And the benefit of knowing that that's something that we're going to experience and that it's something from the external world is that it is, and this is particularly true if you don't have gate 18 defined in your chart already, that's something that's an external influence. You can consider that the same as your conditioning in a way, in the sense that this is something that will rally with your mind sometimes against your internal authority, which with human design, we're illuminating the internal authority, and we're inviting that internal authority to start driving the vehicle, because this is such a gift in this time that we are able to actually be individuals, because it has not always been this way, right? It has not always been this way, which understandably why it's challenging. But you see it, the people that are themselves, that listen to their inner authority, they're happier. They're living their lives, right? And so anyway, let's get on to gate 17, following opinion. Line 5, no human is an island. The recognition, however, understood that there is no end to hierarchies. The ultimate creative expression of interdependency, whether as God's will or global synthesis, opinions that can express the value of being organized, whether mundane or spiritual. It's the exaltation. Detriment is the arrogance, despite all the evidence to claim that the buck stops here. The possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. So we have order and chaos, right? We have the value of being organized, even down from like I'm probably gonna rearrange or not rearrange, but at least clean up my little den here today would probably be a good thing. And I'm definitely prone to having an opinion that refuses to be organized, because sometimes I like the chaos. But again, with that, one thing that I tend to look at is when I'm reading these transits, right? I kind of ask myself, am I more prone to this or that? Am I more prone to doing the exalted thing, or more prone to doing the detrimental thing? Because really what we're talking about with these binaries in here is it's helping us to reveal our conditioning. And that in and of a way is like the entire point of human design, is what is a systematic way to become aware of our conditioning so that we can make a bridge from wherever we're at to where we actually want to be, our signature. How do we get from our not self theme to our signature? How do we get from our conditioning to our signature? And the way really is through interactions with others, but it's ultimately about, it comes down to awareness of what your conditioning is, right? So when I read this, opinions that can express the value of being organized, whether mundane or spiritual. Do you resonate with that? And not for your strategy and authority, just when I read it, your initial reaction, you're like, oh, I resonate with that, as opposed to the possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. So do you see the value in being organized? Because even in the exaltation, that could be a detriment. It could be one of those things where, like for instance, in 22, there's this ability to cast off traditional roles and formalities for the sake of actually making a connection. And here it's the opposite, right? And so it's like, what we're looking at is, again, a conditioning. So if you reflect on your life and consider, am I more prone to organizing, or am I more prone to denying the value of being organized, or refusing to see the value of being organized? But really, again, we're talking about organization and relationships naturally. And so having that awareness of which you're more prone to is really going to, again, help you color and contrast the conditioning, as opposed to, again, you can look at your chart, see if you have this gate present. If not, your opportunity to explore the gate and your relationship with it is today, or has been this week, in terms of 17 and 18, which these are both awareness centers, right? And so it might show up as anxiety. It might show up as fear in gate 18. 17, for instance, might be the anxiety that, like, oh, I have to organize this, or I don't have time to organize this. Something else has to get done. And just be aware of that anxiety around organization and the opinions, and the value of that organization. Be aware of the fear, right? With correction, relationships. This seems like this fifth line is very heavy on relationships. So where does fear and anxiety show up in your relationships, particularly pertaining to your mental health and also the possibility of organization, the value of organization? Sound good? Wonderful. Well, it's time to pour the tea. I wish I had another camera that could just like zoom in on my tea. Oh, actually, I can just do this. That's my tea set right there. I'm gonna go drink some tea. What do you guys say? Your earlier comment about islands set my mind here into this song, Islands in the Neutrino. Is that your next thing, Sean? Are you gonna just take popular songs and remake them, but remake them with human design jargon? That could be a fun vibe, actually. Any questions? I'll hang out with you guys for a little bit here. Usually I have Luke here to riff with, but he actually got a tour today, which is amazing because tourism has been very slow since the fires, and that was his job. So, random fact: the word tea is the same in every language. Is it? That's pretty cool. I love tea. I'm drinking pu'er, which is like OG tea. I call it OG tea because I don't actually know the actual name of it, but this particular stuff is from 2016, brought to me by my dear friend Josh Theosophy from California. So interesting, like quality of, and again, this is like, these are like really subtle qualities when I'm experiencing the transits, right? Because they're obvious if I'm paying attention, and they're I'm completely oblivious if I'm not paying attention. Like days that I don't do T in transits, even days that I still do T in transits, I feel like there's something missing, as though It's like instead of going and watching the news, people should be tuning in to this, right? And I think eventually, what we're doing here is pretty exciting in terms of this is kind of like a radio show where I just like get on and and talk about this stuff. Um, but I would love this to be, a more widespread thing in the sense that not that I like want more people to listen to me so much as I want more people to know the transits. Right, I want more people to understand the transits. So, Christy, you got something here. So, rejection on organization. I use my touch cognition and outer vision environment tone as my excuse for messiness. Need to have things where I can touch and see them or they don't exist. And with my 62.1 unconscious earth, I can tell you where anything is if you ask my right brain, but I can't find it myself. Oh, that is that is such a lucid um reflection of yourself. That's very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yay. So if I could ask a question, I'm curious how having 17 active, right? Because that bridges your 62, how is that affecting you? Does it change your experience of what you've just shared here? I would imagine that like with 17 active, maybe is there a greater anxiety to be more organized, or how is that? Or maybe you have more ideas about how to organize things, but you don't necessarily go about doing it. I'm just curious because the idea naturally would be like you're aware of that influence, but you don't necessarily make you change it. So you've been feeling anxious about your mess. Awesome. Right? Because now what you're doing is like you can gauge, okay, I'm extra anxious about my messiness, but I also know my design and myself, and this is how I'm utilizing it right now. So how can that extra anxiety, how is that going to help shape, your inner authority moving forward, or help color your inner authority by helping make you aware of like what the conditioning is. So I'm not going to let my not self push me into not being me. Exactly. Just don't clean the room. So now I'm thinking, I'm like, shoot, am I going to clean the room? But I also operate in a different way with my 62. Like for me, when things are more detailed, and I actually have a touch cognition as well. Um, for me, when more things are more organized, I actually feel like my mind is able to streamline. Although my brain is facing left, so that's probably what it is that the left facing arrows in the personality are much more keen to using the 62 to organize things, whereas the right facing ones, they need a little bit more of that flow and that chaos. So my emotional authority isn't in the mood. How to deal with object permanence and executive dysfunction. I'm still trying to figure out where my graph could point out why it is and how best to maneuver around it. Object permanence and executive dysfunction. I don't know what that means. Perdita, would you elaborate on that? Object permanence and executive dysfunction. Um, Leaning on tech. Is this like a thing that is common to talk about? Object permanence? It doesn't exist once. Okay. Thank you. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have an answer for you, but I could riff on it. Like, given that you are a manifesting generator, one thing that's really important to the sacral is understanding that you can really only respond to one thing at a time, right? And there's naturally so much stimulus in the world. Um, Plant Mama says using technology, um, using tools like a goblin to break down that's exactly what I would say is like, in terms of like what I'm doing with my daughter right now is there's so many toys. Sometimes when there's toys all over the room, she doesn't play with any of them. But if I clean up the room and then I put one toy in front of her, she plays with that. Anyway, oh, my pants. I was like, shoot, if my balls. This is it's a sarong actually. I'm just wearing like a dress kind of. Here in Maui, we do that kind of stuff. Um, but I was just talking with a friend that out of sight, out of mind for me, I redid my closet now to be in view, hanging instead of a drawer. Yes, executive functions, selecting and successfully monitoring behaviors that facilitate the attainment. Oh, that's probably gate 10. That's probably gate 10. Um, 10 is the behavior of the self. And so the underlying code of behavior which ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. Do you have 10, Perdita? Which I just added, guys, if you'll indulge me for a moment. I just added this oh man, why can't I copy that? Anyway, the channels and roles section over there at the top of our server, right above the server subscriptions. I just added the ability to assign yourself gates and channels. So like if you guys will click on my profile and you'll be able to see all the gates that I have. No channels. um, Always like water. Love that you guys added the gates. Yeah, me and Luke, we dropped in on it last night and we just went in. So it's awesome. I see you got your gates assigned. Is this all of yours? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 gates. Wow, it's not active in mine. Prize in non-activate. So okay, so this is a oh wow, so you have everything but the 10. Okay. So that makes sense, Perdita. Then it's like you are looking at the 10 as a missing piece, right? When it's not missing, it's just not consistent and it's designed to be that way. And so that would be a beautiful understanding of your conditioning in the sense that where can you lean on your integration, not with the goal in mind of perfecting the behavior of yourself. And then also one thing you can ask is like, who is disappointed or who gets frustrated or who gets bitter or who gets angry as a result of you not doing that. So for instance, it's like you've basically created a conditioning where you focus on this what did they call it, executive function, right? And you've probably that conditioning has been focusing on that executive function, and that the executive function, in order to achieve that, right, it's created this man, there's so many new words. I love it. The object permanence, right? And so you're looking at that conditioning, like what was the function of that conditioning? Who did that make happy? Was it boyfriend, girlfriend? Was it brother, sister? Was it a teacher? Was it a parent? In the sense that what we're looking to expose, right, is the not self behavior and the not self decision making through the active illumination of these undefined gates and undefined centers that are um, the mind is basically utilizing to get you to make not self decisions, to get you to deny your strategy and authority, right? So that's super interesting. That actually works out really well. Christine, you says you have 5720, so maybe reaching for 10 with the wide open G. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what's going on. In the sense that it's like maybe I will get a sense of love and direction from this person, right? Because you're looking for love and direction with that undefined G, or at least the not self of the undefined G is looking for that love and direction. Maybe I'll get some love from this person, that person, if I get really good at doing this thing that is unnatural for me, right? That's like the strategy of the not self. And one thing too about the object permanence, it's like for instance, I have, I guess to a degree, I have that as well because it's like, for instance, I have my machine right here. That's my music making device, right? And I also have my Xbox controller, right? And I would say lately I've been using my Xbox controller a lot more than my machine. And my Xbox controller is literally on top of my machine. And so what I'm going to experiment with today is putting my Xbox controller away because I've been saying I wanted to make more music and plugging in my device because it's not plugged in and seeing if I can't make some more music out of that rearranging of objects, right? Because that's the thing, is like out of sight, out of mind. I'm reaching for 10, 25p sun defined ego and 46 and 2 from defined sacral. Yep. What if the G is defined but only 1 and 46 are active? Then the 10 is seriously frustrating. Then gate 10 is seriously frustrating the living daylights out of me. Yeah. Okay, so you got the wide open G, Christine and Perdita. So you've got the one. So you've got creative and you've got perseverance, right? So so you've got the 8-1 and the 46-29, right? Since it's defined. So it's like your channel from the sacral energy to the G is through these full body yeses, not necessarily the exploration of perfecting the behavior of the self. It's through these lines of um, perseverance and commitment and artistry and contribution, not necessarily exploration. So again, like what of the G is defined, but not by that center, or but not by that gate. It means that that gate is not necessarily supposed. It's like you're not going to weave that in. It's not going to be a consistent thing. So it might work for some people, right? It might work at some times. It might work around certain people, but to then take that conditioning when you're alone and attempt to use that as a strategy is a mistake. Wide open G, triple split, only G is undefined and open. Wow, this is a really interesting chart. Makes sense why it's such a struggle. Right. So Perdita, it's like, again, with the authority that you have as well, like with the emotional authority, and this is Christine as well, one of the things that you want to look at is in which ways does this oh, it's the wake up fairy. Ah! Oh my gosh, Christine. So lovely to meet you. You know how happy you made my little Emmy when aw, you have made Emmy so happy. So excited to make this switch. Guys, my partner launched this like custom, and that's actually where the name Evolve came from, was my partner Emerald's excitement around doing custom human design charts, which you can find that in the links in my bio if you want to order one. But Christine here ordered like 70 shirts from her, and Emerald was like, "Is this real? This is amazing. How can someone like my art so much?" And I was like, "Well, you're a talented artist, Emerald, so oh, that's so cool. Thanks for posting this." Um, but as I was saying about the emotional authority, because the emotion is the authority, and I fucking love it. And her, oh my gosh, I'm gonna send her a picture of this real quick. She's gonna freak out. She's like so not into technology, right? She's just busy being mom, but she's gonna love that. I'm gonna send it to her right now. That's gonna make her so happy. But anyway, I was saying about the emotional authority is like, so for instance, Christine, right? You have these hanging gates in your emotional authority, which 22 is this nervousness around not being heard or not having anything worth listening to. 30 is the nervousness around, which one is that? I gotta look that one up. Can't remember. Um, Looking at that, which keynoting, guys, the Rogue channel is amazing for understanding keynoting within the human design system within the body graph. I definitely recommend everyone check that out. If you can't see the rogue channel, it's because you don't have the role, which you can assign yourself in the channels and roles section. So 30 is the collective nervousness about what might happen or what might not happen, right? And then 6 is the nervousness around opening yourself up completely, right? And so what you're looking at here is, right, nervousness that ultimately colors what kind of emotional waves you're going to have, or what feelings you're going to experience within the emotional waves, where the senses of inadequacy or the lack of or the moodiness is going to stem from, or the reactiveness is going to stem from. And so tracking when, for instance, the executive functioning or the object permanence starts to click on, and acknowledging, like, okay, what avenue of the emotions am I experiencing this through, and looking at your chart and being like, okay, well, is it the emotional, is it the moodiness of gate 22, is it the right, is it the ratcheting nervousness around revealing myself, is it the expectation of what I want to happen or what I don't want to happen? And so when you can categorize where that's coming from, then you can actually start to look at what remedies are going to help you explore that emotion. For instance, if it's the individual circuitry, which for Christine, 22 is your individual circuit. If it's that one, then you want to be alone. Be alone in your moodiness. That's going to create an opening for creativity. If it's like you have expectations of yourself or others in that 30 gate, that's your collective emotional wave. That one, you want to drop your expectations. But more likely, it's probably that 6, the nervousness of revealing yourself to somebody or the world. And so if it's that 6, and you realize that it's that 6, and then it's like, okay, now you're going to want to get some kind of physical touch, which if you can't get it from yourself, any kind of physical touch, like from an animal, yep, there we go. Satisfied Sunday dinner generator, dog, or a bell. That's so sweet. Yeah. So that's exact. Oh my God, is this blanket have dogs' faces on it? Were those also your dogs? That's adorable. Oh my God, I love it. That's so sweet. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think just looking at your chart now, it makes a lot of sense why you would want to um, wear your body graph on your shirt, on yourself, because one thing with the undefined G center is that there's a healthy version of it, right, which is not looking for love and direction. It's recognizing where love and direction exists, but it's not trying to fixate that love and direction. It's not looking to evaluate or value itself based off who loves me. It's like the ultimate compersion. It's the ability to say, wow, you guys love each other so much. And rather than thinking, I wish I had a love like that, it's, I'm so happy for you guys that you have that love. I'm so happy that you have that direction. So it's I would say one of the places where jealousy can exist in the not healthy expression of the undefined G, which again is looking for love and direction. It's saying, oh, you have this, I want that, so I'm going to go look for it. Rather than saying, you have this, that's amazing that you have that, and that being it. Right. And so with all the undefined centers, just like all the defined centers, there's a spectrum of healthy and harmonized, or unhealthy and disharmonious. Right. And so same thing with the transits. And even in the exaltation, there's harmonious, healthy, unhealthy, not harmonious. So, oh, what is this? Open G is mystique. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Did you make this? To Wolverine, Professor Xavier. This is so cool. This is like, okay, this just your brain. Yep. This is okay. So this is exactly why I have the Gates' channels. And now I'm like, now we need an entirely different channel for graphics just like this, because this is the kind of stuff that like gets me so excited. is the ability to recognize certain characters with certain qualities and identify them in in a way that, again, because it's like human life is so abstract and it can be so unrelatable. It can also be incredibly relatable. But how, without words, do you bring all the people who can relate together? I am the heretical and blows the horn to the moon. Yeah, that's for sure Raw's vibe, big time. Um, so yeah, so what should we call that channel? I'm a 5-1 Clarion like Raw. Ah, okay. I love it. So this is how you blow your horn to the moon, by putting X-Men characters, matching them up with different types of circuitry. Um, Birthday is one day before his. Oh wow. Very, very cool. So one thing I want to say is like, and naturally you're not a manifester, right? You got a little bit something different going on. But I saw this on a video yesterday, which Prana connected me to this guy Jonah, who is, I think he's host of the HDHD Human Design High Desert in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is really cool. And he talked about manifestors and how, like, right, like we're moving into an age that where manifestors are not going to be in control anymore. Oh, did you go to that? Awesome. That's what's up. And he talked about how, like, Ra said that a manifestor is supposed to find their pasture, right? And I was thinking about the Thanos in Avengers. And now, then the reason I'm bringing this up is because I was like, it'd be really cool to look at the Avengers and what circuitry they have, right? And why. Like, this is like a whole, this should be a fucking university level class on psychology, if you really think about it. What characters would have what placements and what designs, because that would just be so cool. And it would even be really cool to, like, for your friends, before you see their human design, to actually make up a human design for them. That would take a lot of work. But anyway, we're on the fringes of human design here in Evolve. Obviously, it's why we call this place Evolve. So, but Thanos is that manifester who has accomplished his task, made it through 2027, because post 2027 the world is not going to belong to manifestors anymore. And it's one that a manifester now has to find their pasture. They have to find their peaceful place. Otherwise, they're just going to constantly be angry. Interesting. So, I had good pasture on his server. I just joined his server. Awesome. I don't know exactly how it works quite yet, but I'm excited to learn more about his server and his offerings, because he's doing a he has a monthly subscription as well that's going to give people access to, like, basically loads of talks, and it's honestly, it's like a pretty sweet deal, if you ask me, just based off like who he's getting to talk and all that kind of stuff. But it's cool how, making waves in the human design world, like, we're still so new. Like, we don't have any human design, like, festivals, right? We don't have any human design. We're having conferences now. But I one thing I asked was, like, how was the music at this event? Because if I go, I'm gonna bring instruments and I'm gonna play music, and I'll play DJ sets as well. So there's part of me that just wants to, like, make human design cool, so that all the, like, the young 13 14-year-old kids, instead of going off and doing drugs or joining gangs or doing stupid shit, they can fucking come party with us, right? Reflectors take over the world. Yes, we don't have the ed. Well, I don't and I have the cross of rulership. So there's part of me that's like, I know at some point, and I already feel it within this Discord. I've been called to leadership, but I don't want to necessarily put myself in that place. I want to be asked to lead, and I also want to be supported. Like, I need my counsel around me, which I feel like I have, and the moderators, especially Prana has been super helpful with helping me to tailor this whole experience, just because he has so much information. And then my first moderators like Ori, Chris, and Ronan, were like the inspiration for me to kind of keep going, because I was at a cycle with it where I was like, okay, I'm either gonna bring on people, which I've always been kind of hesitant to like bring people on, um, and because I don't want to deal with the responsibility of the projections when they do emerge, honestly. And I also, it's been a thing for me where, like, to maintain my freedom, I just don't build um relationships where people are depending on me. And now that I'm a father, of course I have to have relationship I have a relationship where I have two people now that completely depend on me. And so the responsibility and the freedom factor, if I still want to maintain my freedom, I have to find a different road to it, right? Rather than the one where I have no responsibility, I have the road where I do have responsibility, and that's been a beautiful road. And so, I'm super grateful for everyone that's contributed to me continuing to walk that path. Um, Yeah, so everyone is on everyone's stuff, which is great. I love it. Ori, I'm always thinking of how I can reach my generation to like human design more. Well, we already know how that is. And actually, I just had a funny thought because this GIF is on my screen, but you know those stupid TikTok dances? Which those are less blowing up right now. But that kind of stuff with human design over it. Like, there's a girl, I forget what her name is, but she just did, like, 5 signs that you're an indigo child, or that you're a star seed, and then she would just dance and have like she would just have like the stuff listed on there. So, Ori, I don't know if you like to dance, but maybe I'll do my martial arts and do something like that. Oh, that's a cool idea. Here I am just giving myself idea. I hate dancing. Yeah. Just keep doing those sacral calibrations, cuz. Be like, hey, if you want to have better sex and more people love you, do this exercise with me. That's how, honestly, that's how, like, my channel really blew up, was, people love sex and emotions and money. And so just target that. HD Pop Culture is the title of the server. Uh-huh. I like it. I like it. I'll put that in the extracurriculars. Now, should this be a forum, or maybe it's a media? Do we make it a forum? That's a good title, pretty though. I like that. Because we have the celebrity charts, and we have move some stuff around, actually. I like the forums at the bottom. Forums feel more fun and interactive. Cool. So I got celebrity charts. I got characters as gates. That one follows the transits. So I just want to say I'm so thankful for this group and finding human design. I've been having an emotional morning, and knowing this HD group has helped me be in touch with myself, even though as a reflector, it's hard to do. Love you, Tim. I'm really happy you found us too. Um, because that's the beauty of human life in general, right? Is to find people that can relate to your suffering. And I've had so many emotional mornings, so many, that I didn't have anyone around, and that was good for me to not have anyone around, because um, I know the value now of having people around, and that's a big part of my personal mission within this Discord, is to really inspire people to start building their communities, based off of their human design. And when I say human design, naturally, I'm talking about their signature and talking about your actual internal authority and building a community that actually is in harmony with who you actually are. So, and a lot of that means deconstructing the group that you have right now, which can be very challenging because, you know, some would say it's better to be with people than it is to be alone, but I don't always feel that way. I feel, especially as a reflector, I'd rather be alone than with the wrong people. Um, and so, and in certain circumstances, that's not like a forever, right? I feel like there's definitely certain times when I would rather be with people than be alone, regardless if it's the person that I don't want to be with or they don't align with my strategy and authority. However, that's like a pretty extreme situation. Does having mini rage breaks, screaming and crying in the bathrooms, an MG thing or a 5-1 thing? I would say that's like I would say that's probably more of a human thing, Perdita. I have many rage breaks too, um, especially when I'm playing Halo and I'm getting absolutely destroyed. I'll just like scream. Um, but then I also have like healthy ways to outlet that rage, right? Like I have a bunch of sticks that are always falling off the trees, and I got to keep my paths clear. So I literally will just go, and I'll do it like a kamehameha. You know, I'll like charge up all my rage, and then I'll throw it. And then the physical act of watching the stick go away from me and knowing that I just charged the stick up with all my rage and now it's super far away from me, if I want to get that rage back, my body is like, well, then you're going to have to walk all the way over there. So what were you even angry about in the first place? Um, very important thing. But I would say with an MG and a 5-1, you know, you can kind of flavor or understand where does the rage come from because you know rage and anger. I link those in my mind closely. Come from a manifester not self theme, which the manifester is doesn't want to be controlled, doesn't want to be told what to do, right? Because they and that's why they have that blocked off aura, right? And so considering that, like where again, where is the rage stemming from, right? And it's usually some kind of not self theme within yourself. So I love being alone. I have burst times. I love being with people. Yeah, same, same. They pretend nothing happened, then pretend nothing happened during work. Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that, Perdita. Just like it's so important to like let the emotions have their time because you know somebody that's emotionally intelligent and this is the thing about psychopaths, right? They're highly emotionally intelligent. They can go from crying, oh my god, to like just like normal day to day to like psycho crazy. But that's emotional intelligence. And with the emotional authority, we don't let that awareness and that intelligence make the decisions, right? You guys see why you have to have all of the centers operating in a healthy manner. Your inner authority always tells the truth. Your not self always tells lies. And I should warn you that one of us always tells the truth and one of us always. Oh my God. Christine, this is so good. I got to make this channel right now. Forum HD pop culture. Boom. Oh, I named it HD poo culture. So if you guys could help me come up with a good description for this channel, that would be super helpful as well. There it is. You get a better picture of the people who influence you if you are not part of the group. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so and that's one of the things about, you know, emotions is they kind of separate you from people in a way, especially if you have the individual wave. Um, oh, what's going on with my profile picture? Weird. Anyway, the emotions kind of help distinguish you in life. That's why it's considered the loudest authority is because it's one of the most distinguishing things in terms of our nervousness and how we feel, where we place ourselves. Like a non-emotional being hanging out with a bunch of emotional beings, I feel very out of place because they'll be talking about stuff that, like, to me, I'm like, why does that matter? Why is it so important to you? And then, of course, I'm like, oh, because you're you. Cool. Right? Like Luke, my buddy Luke. Sometimes he's just so emotional. Sometimes stuff is pissing him off. And I'm like, why do you let that piss you off, dog? He's like, because it's important to me. I'm like, oh yeah, we're different. And the thing is, like, being able to talk about it, being able to bring that into the light and onto the table, because we are so serious so often, right? Because the mind wants to be right more than it wants to be satisfied or feel peace or success or surprise. The mind thinks it has the tools, but that's just two centers. It's just two centers. Granted, that's where like the personality crystal and design crystal are. Can't live without the head. But the head without the body, that's kind of lame too. Anyway, just want to say that ahas and nah seriously helped me through so much and saved me from a ton of stupid crap. Big time. Big time. So one thing too is like, you don't have to be a human design expert to understand the strategies and invite other people to use those strategies. Right? So like if you're a generator and you have generator friends and you know that they're generators, one thing that you can ask them is, like, for instance, and say you were trying to figure out where to eat, right? You could say something along the lines of like, "Hey, are you hungry?" And they'll say, "Oh, yeah, I'm pretty hungry." And be like, "Okay, let's do a lie detector test. You can only respond with sounds. Are you hungry?" And they go, Be like, "Okay, sounds like you're not hungry. Ask me if I'm hungry. Are you hungry?" Uh-huh. Okay, so I'm hungry. Um, I'm gonna go get food. Do you want to stay here? Sounds only. Do you want to come with? Uh-huh. Okay, cool. So right, so it's like it's just just the what do you say? Just the sacral sounds, right? Head without the body, my open head and ajna feels called out. Of course, my open head and ajna always feels called out. And then that's not a head without the body. That's just a head that's not defined. That's just a mind that's not defined. It's not here um, to really bring anything unique, right? And that's one thing for me is like I always saw myself as having like such unique insights, but really I'm just the best fucking listener. I'm just really good at picking up ideas and like re-explaining different ideas. I don't know if I've ever said anything original in my entire life, but I could feel really bad about that, or I could ride that puppy. You know what I mean? My defined hedge and a triple split from everything feels called out to mine opposite. I have been exposed. Yeah, so it's like for the people with the undefined head and ajna, you know, just accept that there's no original thoughts. There's no original thinking that's going on in your brain. And so what your mission then becomes, rather than trying to become beware dominion crossing meddling monster on the list. So what the your mission then becomes is no longer figure out everybody else's problems, but acknowledge and learn to recognize and track who actually is the most efficient or who is the most creative. Like that's what my head and ajna are doing. It's like who thinks about their problems the best. Because I know what people's problems are, but I'm not trying to solve their problems. I'm trying to be around the people that think about their problems in unique ways. Talent scouts, big time. And as a reflector too, it's so much more amplified because I don't have a choice. I have to know if you're able to think about your problems in a dynamic way, or if you're one of those linear people that just tries to pile drive through that. Because if I hang around you for too long, I'm gonna end up pile driving through mine, which sometimes I need to do that. Most times I don't, though. Very rarely do I ever need to like power through my problems. And pretty much always I have someone to help power me through them. So anyway, guys, it's coming up on I think like an hour we've been on here. I got some other work I got to get to today. Also want to go hang out with the family, so I want to finish that work. Thank you guys. This was a really fun tea in transit. I love when this happens. So wonderful. Yes, great discussion. Big love to you gues. What was I going to say? Christine, definitely. I made that pop culture forum. So post some of that stuff in there, and if you can come up with a description of like those memes that you make with the X-Men characters, I think that's awesome. Very, very cool. And holographic bagel in for the goodbye. Dang, or you would. Wonderful session. So yeah, anyway, love you guys. Catch you later. Holographic bagel. Dan, you would have loved this conversation, my guy. It's all good. It'll be reposted if you want to listen to it and cry about not being here. Big love to you guys. Catch you later. Peace.